Good morning, everybody. The workshop's a mess. It's time to clean it. This place is, well, a mess. It was looking a lot worse, but this has been something I've been just slowly working towards. Had some other projects I needed to take care of before getting into all this. And finally got all those done, got all the trash hauled out of here. Now it's time to start sweeping and getting stuff ready to mop, and the biggest thing of all, pull all this stuff out of here and clean it. So this morning I got a few things I got to kind of move out of the way, get off to the side, get the gator out of here, other things like that, just so I can, get to brooming. But after I get that all done today, hopefully, maybe this weekend or maybe Monday, whatever, get that chute, tub, alley, everything taken out. I'm gonna have to take the tub apart in it like 3 pieces or something like that so I can handle it. But get all of it out. Power wash all that, pull all the mats from underneath out, power wash all those, clean the floor up, everything, and put it all back. And I'm gonna have to put it back in just a little bit different a configuration to try to solve a little bit of a design issue. Not an arrowquip issue, a me issue. It's a long story, but just suffice to say, the door is not put exactly where it probably should have been. And we had to put in this panel here, and instead of the cows kind of going right through super smoothly, a lot of times they'll hang up because of that panel. So I'm hoping to shift things over, and it'll take a little bit of time. I'll probably have to cut another little bit of matting to slide things over, but I've got an idea and I'm hoping I can make it work. All right, enough of me yakking. I gotta get to work.
1 hour later.
There we go. That went a lot faster than I figured it would. Got the floor all swept. Who knows? Maybe I'll start getting stuff ready over there to start pulling out the chute and alley and stuff. Nice. You can even see our JTAC brand on the floor again. Very nice. I wouldn't exactly eat off of this floor right now. I mean, it still needs mopped, but I'm not going to worry about that until I finish messing with that other stuff, and we'll just do the whole floor all at once. I'm going to go get some lunch. We'll see what we can get done after that. Back from lunch, let's get the chute out of here. I really like how easy this arrowquip is to get lifted up and out of here. It definitely head and shoulders above some of the chutes we've had in the past. That being said, it still does take some time. We don't have the electric jacks on this one. They're just the manual ones, so, it just takes some time. And while you're lifting up on the back here, you've got, one jack goes on this side, one jack goes on the other side. It's easier if you've got 2 people, that way you can lift it up in tandem. But, if you're in need of some exercise, like I definitely am, I've got a lot of onboard storage. Just go up 10, 15 cranks, walk around, go up 10, 15 cranks, rinse and repeat until you can get the wheels put on. Then you lift up the front, back under, dolly her down, you're good to go. And on the back of the truck, I've also got the sternum bar, and there's the jack I need to get this thing off the truck. And we're not going far with it. Just parking it over here around the back by the hydrant so I can get this thing power washed and looking purty again. Now you may be wondering, okay, why are you taking it outside to wash it? Can't you just wash it in here? Well, I wish. We're not quite there yet. There's still some more work left to do in the workshop before we can start just washing it in place. But yes, that is the eventual goal. This is going to be one of the first walls that we finally finish out with more insulation and an outer coating. That way I can wash in here, and also we don't have to worry about, stuff that's, brown but not mud getting flung up on, insulation in the wall and everything else. This is still a work in progress. baby steps. But where the chute comes out, you know, all nice and sophisticated with a nice lifting system and everything else, the alleyway, well, she's just coming out with brute force. Gonna unpin it from the tub, run some chains through there, put it up on the ball, and just drag it out and park it next to the chute. Actually, I'm not going to disconnect it from the tub. I'm going to disconnect it from the door. Door comes out separately. That thing's way too expensive to just be dragging around. The other reason everything's coming out is I need to get these mats out of here. So kind of hard to get all of these mats out with everything sitting on it. So these all come out, then the mats are all going to come out, probably dangle them up in the air with the loader tractor, power wash them off. That way I can get to the concrete underneath and squeegee that off. Now, granted, the concrete underneath here, you know, it's got the same treatment as the rest of the shop, but when we worked cows, it was so nasty and sloppy and muddy and everything else. I would just feel better if I got all this stuff lifted out, cleaned underneath, and get it put back. Also hoping, if I have time when these things are out of here, that I can take my grinder and grind in some tread patterns on these things. This was originally rock crusher conveyor belting that we've repurposed. I mean, it doesn't really have much grip to it when it gets wet. So sometimes the cows start slipping around on it. We don't want that. We don't want stuff falling down or getting scared that they're going to fall down, because when that happens, they get harder to work with. We kind of ran into that this last year. It's a problem that definitely needs addressed. I just really hope I've got time to do it, because that's going to take quite some time. And there's that. Easy peasy. Someday I'm planning on putting wheels of some kind on that thing, kind of similar to how the chute works. You know, they don't have to be road wheels or anything. It doesn't like we, you know, haul it down the highway at 60 mile an hour or something, but something to be easier to move, you know, less dragging and brute force and a little bit more finesse. And last but certainly not least, it's this gargantuan thing. I can't drag it out, that's for sure. It doesn't have wheels either. It's going to have to get taken apart. Thankfully, this comes apart pretty easily. Just has a couple of bolt together sections, and I'll put it on some dollies and wheel it out. It's not going to go very far out of the door, just because, well, I don't really want to drag it a long ways. I just want to get it out of the barn so I can wash it and have access to the mats underneath it, and then I'll worry about getting it back in. I forgot about the door. Yeah, this thing is deceptively heavy. It is an absolute monster to try to move around. Honestly, once I unpin it, the easiest way to move it is just kind of walk it out of here, and I'll just lean it up against the panels. I've got enough hoses that I can get the power washer over here, so I don't have to drag that over where the chute and alley are. Holy cow, that thing is that's a heavy son of a gun. But here's a closer look at the thing I'm hoping to take out of here. This is just kind of a turn panel. I don't know exactly what they call it, but I'm hoping to remove this. That way when the cow comes in here, this isn't right in their view. Instead of this being here, this will be kind of turned. So that way when we come out, it'll be a straight shot down the alleyway, and they can see through the alleyway, through the chute, and the light will help draw them through. And that will eliminate the one place on here where we're just kind of having a little bit of a snag from time to time. Well, I got one piece out. Got the overheads off. Got this door tied on here so it doesn't want to flop around when I move it. This would be one of those times where a little mini skid steer would be absolutely perfect. You know, one of those ones you kind of stand behind.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
One of those little guys might be on the budget someday. You know, back, as soon as we have a budget again, it'd be kind of nice. Because moving these things around manually kind of sucks. But for now, that's all I'm gonna get done. Time to go get the kid. Wife's making steak, potatoes, and corn on the cob for dinner. Just what a growing boy, well, laterally growing boy needs after a hard day's work.
The next day.
All right, the tub's out. Kind of broomed off the conveyor belting as best I can. Thankfully, had a buddy come out today and help me move the rest of the tub. I moved one section myself last night, and that was just about the end of me. So thank you, Kirk. I very much appreciate your help. This section with the doors was just horrible to move. So it's just sitting right outside this door, so I don't have to go very far to power wash it or drag it back in. And then there's the other two pieces. So they're not too far away either. Shouldn't be too terrible to bring back in. Next up, gonna start dragging out all of these mats. Took the grinder and numbered them with Roman numerals. That way I remember which way they went in. You wouldn't think it mattered, but it kind of does. They, for some reason, fit together decently. All except for number 5. That one, for some reason, started to curl, and I don't know why it did that. But here's how we're gonna move them. Just 2 10-inch off-brand vice grips, clamped down just about as tight as I can get them. I welded don't look at the weld too closely, welded a couple of big loops on the back of them, put a clevis in, that way I could have the two of them holding together, put a chain, and we're gonna hook onto the gator and drag them out. Yes, I know, the weld is garbage. I am a farmer who can weld, not a welder. There is a difference. Whoops. There went a perfectly good $8 blender. Truth be told, I was more worried about breaking that, but that's okay. That's just a little Hamilton Beach. I'm not really worried about that. I use that to mix calf milk replacer, so just the irritation of having to sweep up all the glass now. But it does work pretty nifty. All right, take that off. We're just gonna leave this mat over here kind of out of the way. That way I can get the floor cleaned in the shed. I'll bring the tractor over, hook it back up, dangle it in the air, power wash it, and then kind of let it dry for a little bit and pull them back in. Time to rinse and repeat 4 more times. And there we are, all empty. Got all the mats pulled out. That was really easy. I can't claim all the credit for making that little nifty doodad tool. I mean, wasn't really that much to do. It was, a couple of vice grips and a couple of, split links, and then throw a clevis on there and off you go. A buddy of mine told me about that. He built something similar to pull out the stall mats out of his horse barn so he can hang them up and clean them and everything else. So I can't claim all the credit for that, but pretty nifty. I think that took me about 15, 20 minutes, maybe, to get all those pulled out. And I didn't have to pull them manually. If you saw how we originally pulled these in here, we actually used some old school bail hooks and just grabbed onto them with those and drug them in here. That was very labor intensive and not very much fun at all. This is much easier. Work smarter, not harder. All right, got that all swept out. Now I'm gonna go get some lunch, and after I get back, I'm gonna bust out the power washer. Not quite sure what I'm gonna take after first, whether I'm gonna wash the mats, and then while they're kind of hang drying, come in here and then clean the floor and then bring the mats back in, or exactly what order I'm gonna do it in, but one way or another, stuff's getting washed today. Got the floor all mopped and clean. I wouldn't want to eat off of it, but it's clean enough to put cattle handling equipment back on top of. And now for the walls.
The next morning.
Well, there we are. Power washed, clean, put back in. I mean, I wouldn't exactly eat off of them, but they're a lot better than they were. But got these 7 pulled back in. These ones are the tough ones just because I have to kind of turn them and manually get them into position. But there's the original 7. And then I added these 2 in just because I'm going to need a little extra room on this side here because of how I'm wanting to reorient the tub. Next up, the last 5 that go this way, they're longer, but they're actually a little easier to put in because I just drive straight in, pulling them right behind me, and as long as I'm driving, I don't know, halfway decently, they'll go right into position.
A few moments later.
Just like that, all the mats are in. Now to get some lunch, take care of a few other things going on today. Probably have to wait till tomorrow to start pressure washing stuff, even though I'd like to get to it today. There's a few other things I need to get done.
The next day.
It's a new day. Time to pressure wash. We're gonna start with that first. That second. And then the tub and stuff that are over there. It's gonna be a long afternoon.
1 hour later.
Alley's clean. The chute is clean. Also got the sternum bar clean. These are significantly easier to clean off than those rubber mats were. Don't know why, but I'm here for it. Making my life a lot easier. Now I'm gonna move over here. Got a couple sections of the tub to clean, then kicker panel, the tub walk-through gate, and the rolling gate that sits behind the alleyway.
3 hours later.
Now those are clean. These are clean. That's clean. And last but not least, this big sucker's clean. There's a reason why this only got moved to right outside this door. Even with 2 of us, this thing is a heavy son of a buck. Now that everything's clean, I'm just gonna let them sit for a while. I want them to dry off. I want the ground around them to dry off so I'm not tracking mud back into the workshop. So I'm just gonna leave them sit here for probably a couple of days. Get plenty of sun on them, around them, get that ground dried out. So if I drag anything in, it's just a little dirt that I can broom up.
Several days later.
Slowly but surely, getting stuff put back in. But how am I getting stuff put back in, you may ask? Well, with that little guy. That's a Bauma Light mini skid steer. Pretty handy little thing if I do say so myself. Now that I got all these pieces sat in here, I can slide them on this rubber mat without too much trouble. Get it all bolted together, and then I'll probably have to bring the mini skid back in and kind of move it around, kind of get it finagled to where I want it. Well, this is a nice change of pace. I actually got more done than I anticipated. The tub is all put together and done. Got my walk-through door, the rolling door, the alley, all this stuff is all hooked up and ready to go. That really made that a lot easier. Wow, that's cool. As much as I'd like to get the chute in tonight, gotta go get the kid from the grandparents. We'll tackle it tomorrow.
The next morning.
So here we have it. Everything is reinstalled and in its proper place. Makes me a happy camper. That little mini skid steer just made this 1,000 times easier. Now you can see we definitely changed up how this thing sits. It's no longer, straight north and south. It's on a little bit of an angle. But by doing that, we got rid of the kicker panel that used to go in there. So now it's just a straight shot into the alleyway. In order to achieve what I was wanting with the tub, I had to push it that way just a little bit and also rotate it. So this part of the tub is sticking a little further this way than it was before. But overall, I'm happy with what I'm seeing here. I was worried I was going to need a couple extra panels or something like that to make this work. Thankfully, all I'm going to need is one 4-foot walk-through gate. That's going to replace that panel there, and this panel is going to go either right in this spot here, or this 8-footer will come over and the 4-footer will go over there. Another nice thing about this being at a little bit of an angle and pushed over to the west a little more is that we have a lot more room to work on this side. Before, if my vet had anything set up over here, we were running into each other. It was just really cramped on this left side of the chute. So moving this over, giving us a little more breathing room here will allow us to get some stuff set up and allow us to work a little easier without bumping into each other. Now I don't have a lot left to do. Need to grease and oil up some stuff on the chute. There's a pivot point here on the tub swing door that's going to need greased back up again. And the next thing is finishing up the matting. First things first, I got to move this, kind of get it pulled back over. That's not going to be super fun, but I want to get that gap kind of closed up a little more. And then I'm going to start grinding either like chevron patterns or cross thatch, something, grinding some grooves into this rubber matting to try to give the cows a little bit more traction. When this gets wet, this gets really slippery. That was something we were worried about, but just something we just didn't have time to deal with before. I'm going to take time to deal with it now. This little feller goes back to the dealership tomorrow. I am really glad I rented this machine. It was super duper handy, and if I had the budget, it'd probably just stay here on the farm. I liked it that much and it worked that well. As well as, putting all the cattle handling equipment back in easily. I also went in, cleaned the pen out where we had that crippled cow sitting and waiting for her locker plant date. And that's why I had to power wash it, because I got it kind of nasty and dirty. So refilled it with diesel, got it nice and clean. Good to go back in the morning. I'm also planning on doing something in front of the chute where stuff gets out, because after a while it gets really slimy and slippery too. I don't think the chevron grooves are going to do enough. I might end up getting like one of those Baylor belt woven mats or woven tire mats or something to sit right in front of here, so when they come out, they have a nice, good, sturdy place to land before they go out the door.
In the business, we call this foreshadowing.
Now to go take some mineral to the cows. We'll get back to grinding chevrons another time.
The next morning.
It's always important while you're doing this kind of stuff, wear a respirator. Be safe when you're working. Well, there's the first groove. That looks a little bit better. Yeah, that's a lot better. Nice little groove there for their hooves to catch.
Got my handy dandy laser here to make sure I make straight lines. What I'm going to do is make a line from each one of those bumps on the wall of the tub that the door locks on. Kind of make it all towards the middle here, kind of like a clock. And then after that, gonna do some horizontal runs too. That way we've got traction for stuff coming in and stuff going down the alleyway. And then eventually I gotta do some in the alleyway area too. Definitely gonna need a shower after this. Okay, go away, I got stuff to do.
Much later.
Making a little progress. Again, not the nicest looking thing in the world, but if the cow's feet get a little better traction, that's really all I care about. I've gotten 5 bars around, kind of pushing my grinder here to its limits. I'm using one of my old hoof trimming discs. It's actually doing a really good job. It's throwing all this stuff off and, you know, slivers and pieces and stuff instead of, you know, just grinding microfibers and making a 1.5 tons of smoke like a normal grinding wheel would. Problem with using this, takes a lot of juice because this is not just, you know, ordinary rubber. This is rock crusher conveyor belting. So it's really having to work to get through that, you know, just that top layer. So ran through 3 batteries of the high output whatevers, and this is starting to get pretty warm. So we're gonna go ahead and call that good. Give it everything a break, let everything cool down. No need to overheat or hurt anything. You know, it's not like we're working cows tomorrow. Unfortunately though, I have quite a ways to go. I'm a third done. And I also still have to do this entryway here and in there as well. Although I'm entertaining a different idea for that. I'll get back to you on that later. While we're waiting for everything to cool down, let's take a little look at how this is all gonna work once we finally get everything finished. So this is the new entryway into the shed. This is pretty much how the panels are gonna be sitting. And then if I can never get my camera to turn here, here's the new gate. It is pretty nifty if I do say so myself. I really like that slam latch. Works from both sides, very nice. So I was telling you guys earlier, now guy can go out here, wave his flag over the top, bring this group of cows in here. I'm gonna rig something up to make that gate close. And if there's an issue with stuff not wanting to move right in the tub, you just come right back here, go out, go around the back side of the cows and fix the issue. Should make things a lot easier. Another thing I like about the changes we've made here is that this narrows down gradually going into the tub. Last year I noticed when we were working cows that Dad had some issues on occasion trying to cover the lateral gap as he's trying to bring stuff into the tub. Because before it was pretty wide and then it would narrow down immediately right at this gate going into the tub. Now with this gradually working down, you'll have less side to side that you'll have to cover as you're bringing them in. Unfortunately, I did have to make one design compromise. A little bit of a bummer, but it's not that bad. You'll notice I got these 2 panels overlapping right here. I was really hoping by the time I got all this finagled and moved and twisted around and everything that, you know, both these panels here and these panels here would all fit perfectly. Unfortunately, the more I started, you know, measuring and looking and mathing and all that other good stuff, if I would have made it so both that back side and this side hooked together, it would have pushed everything out so far that the chute would have been dumping out almost right against the right-hand support of the door. Not really a good idea. So hence, the one compromise that I was willing to make. Now, if I felt so inclined to make this fit perfectly, I could, you know, cut this, you know, take some pieces out, put a insert tube in here, re-weld it all back together to make it perfectly fit and, you know, look all sorts of pretty. I just can't quite bring myself to do that. These panels are really expensive and I really don't want to start chopping them up. So I came up with a much nicer plan B. I'm going to take 2 or 3, they call them endless ratchet straps, so no hook, just one strap that goes through the tensioner. trim it down so there's not a lot of tail hanging off. They make some 2-inch ones that'll work perfect here. Put one here, or at the bottom, or somewhere. I haven't figured out the spacing yet, but you loosen it up, slide it, and then when you get it into place and hooked up, just a couple ratchets, make this super tight. Those 2-inch ratchet straps have like a 6,000 pound brake limit. So if we get to that limit where the ratchet straps are breaking, I've got other problems. Not a bad compromise in the grand scheme of things. The thing that's causing all of this, again, is just the placement of this door. If this door would have been scooched just like 3 feet that away, this would all be so much simpler. But you can wish in one hand and you know what in the other, and you'll see which one fills up first. It is how it is, and that's how we're going to work with it. Turns out this wasn't the right disc for the job. I was able to do 5, and then on number 6, well, stuff started to get really tough, and it just wasn't cutting. It was just leaving a lot of real fine powder, so definitely not the thick shavings it was cutting off before. So that's dull, which, you know, to be fair, that's a hoof trimming disc and this is conveyor belting, hardly what it was designed for. Fortunately, I was able to find a different grinding wheel, something super aggressive that I think will take hunks of rubber belting off of this a little better than what I was using. Wife's gonna grab it on the way home from work. Thankfully, a store in town had one. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, I used the laser and chalked out the rest of the lines in the tub here that I'm wanting to kind of grind out a little bit. These go all the way to the back. Not a lot of pressure back here, so I'm not going to put lateral lines here. However, here in the front, where we start pushing, getting ready to go out the alleyway, I've got some side-to-side lines here that I'm wanting to grind in, and then I'm going to put one right here for as they're coming in through the gate, just in case I don't want them slipping their first step into the tub, so I'll put one right here. Shouldn't be a problem as I go down the alleyway because this will pretty much be along their center line. And then going into the tub, made some kind of chevron pattern here. Not perfect, but makes good use of the space, which is what I'm kind of looking for, especially that one up top. It looks a little funky, but there's a reason why. I want more of an angle right there because that's where stuff's going to be coming in. They'll make better use of that. And then going into the alleyway, I put some close together ones in there. I'll grind those out maybe a little wider than some of these other ones back here. Just anything to help give them a little bit more traction before they go up into the chute. Now I'm sure there's a couple of you thinking that this is just, you know, the equivalent of putting, you know, spinning rims and a subwoofer on a car. But at the end of a project, your fine details, which sometimes I swear take just as long, if not longer, than the whole project itself, the fine details are what make a project live up to its full potential. And that's what I'm trying to do here. And that maximum potential is what I'm trying to get out of this system now. When we first put it in here, we didn't know what we didn't know. We kind of figured there'd be a couple of weaknesses that would show up that we hadn't even thought about. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. That's why I'm going so overboard this time, taking everything out, cleaning it, cleaning the mats, making sure that I can basically just start over with the lessons that I learned from how this was set up before and make a system even better and more efficient. It was working well enough before, but there's always ways that you can improve. And if it adds to the safety of all of us working with the cows, adds to the safety of the cows, helps keep them just a little bit calmer, I'm going to implement it, especially while I have the opportunity right now. We're not in harvest yet. We're not planting wheat yet. We're coming up on that pretty quick, which is why I'm trying to get this project done. But I have the time to do it, so I'm going to do it right. And that way, Hopefully, I don't have to redo this in another couple of years. Now here's the perfect example of one of those finer details of an issue that I didn't even know was going to be an issue. These are the slam latches for the entry door into the tub. They work amazing and I love them. This is the walk-through door and it does not have a slam latch. A little bit of a design oversight by arrowquip, I think, but I didn't think it was going to be that big of a deal. My dad and my uncle and my aunt have a really hard time remembering to do this. Wouldn't think that'd be an issue, but it is. I don't know why. A lot of times they leave it like that. Well, if a cow walks into the tub here and bumps the gate with her big booty, well, now it's opened up a little bit. The next cow's gonna go, hey, I can get out. And that is exactly what happened twice while we were working cows this last year and once while we were AIing heifers. Having one of those pieces made so I can weld it on here, and then I will have a slam latch. You wouldn't think it'd be a big problem, but it's one of those finer details of things that we didn't know was going to be a problem that has become one. Here's another one of those fine details. This is arrowquip's amazing rolling door. Honestly, one of the best divider doors on the entire market. Super easy to open and close. You can operate it from either side. It's ridiculously heavy. Like I've had bulls back against it with everything they had and nothing's happened to it. I love it. There, however, is one little issue. When this door gets closed, this thing hits and makes a lot of noise. A lot of clattering and banging for an entire system that's super duper quiet. We don't have a lot of other things that make that much noise besides the tub door, and I haven't figured out how to muffle that a little more yet. Basically, all I'm gonna do is take a pool noodle, put it around this end. That way, it'll soak up a little bit of the impact more, so it doesn't rattle so badly. And it'll give it a little bit of flair too. Like I said, finer points. That clattering adds a little bit more stress to the cows. If I can easily remedy that, I'm going to. That's easy to take care of. Welding on that little slam latch piece, easy to take care of. Problem solved. Solutions don't have to be grandiose. Sometimes the most genius solution is the most simple one. Well, that's about enough today. I'll put the soapbox away and go get my kid and we're gonna make some dinner. I can't wait to get this floor done. It's a miserable job grinding these grooves. Absolutely miserable.
One day later.
Turns out these were the wheels I needed. They work quite well. There's just one little issue. That heavy sustained grinding against that rubber, that's pretty tough work. So I went through all my batteries twice. So I'm just shutting those down and giving them a break. Then I got out my old DeWalt here, and I know it was kind of giving me a little trouble when I put it away the last time. Yeah, it's unalive now. It's done. It started gushing smoke out of the ports and now it won't move, so. Doesn't surprise me. Got it at a garage sale, what do you expect? Though those wheels work a lot better, it is still not a fun job. I'm really glad I've got my respirator on because the stuff that I'm pulling up looks like coal dust. Breathing this in would be horrible for your health. So yeah, thank goodness for that respirator. There's the grooves that I put in the tub. Did some lateral ones here for when they come down the alley, and then as they come in, basically just lined up all the grooves with the cogs on the wall. And as we get closer, you know, got these, like I said before, these lateral ones for when they're getting ready to go down the alleyway, and got ones put in the alleyway here. That way they've got enough grip before they get into the chute. All I have left to do now for the grinding is just these chevron patterns coming into the shed. But where I ruined one grinder and have ran through my battery supplies, we'll just wait and do that another day. Slow and steady. It's not like we're working cows in here tomorrow. Now you guys may have seen this already, but if you haven't, here's this really cool mat that I got. Gave a 30 pack of Miller Lite for it. I still can't believe I got that good of a deal. But put that here so when stuff comes out of the chute, they have a spot of really good footing for their first couple of steps. That way they don't slip and fall on this rubber matting. Now the reason why we're having some issues, besides the rubber matting getting slick, is the fact that they're coming down out of the chute. I love having scales. Don't get me wrong, I'll never take them off because they are a very, very handy thing to have. But you've got that gap under the bottom, plus they're coming off the top of that. So that's, to the bottom of my palm. It's worth a drop coming out of the chute. That's a lot of weight coming down, especially on a slippery surface. So really hope this helps. Now, granted, there's still a little gap between here and this grooved concrete, so I may end up putting some grooving into the floor here too, just to make sure everything keeps its feet under it as it's getting out of the chute. Because cows falling is a bad thing.
The next day.
Got the chevron pattern done in the floor here. Yes, I know that one is not matching, but I wanted it to be there. It's better fill for the space. Hopefully all this work, pays some dividends. That took a lot of time and my arms still feel like jelly. Besides just sweeping up the piles of debris, I'm done. This is pretty much exactly how I was wanting this to sit. The straps should be in today so I can get the panel set up here and strapped into position and make sure that's all going to work out right. Normally I'd bring the hydraulic hoses over and get them plugged in, but our first use for this thing is actually not going to be in here. So I'm just going to leave it disconnected because we're going to pop it loose and put the wheels back on it and get it back on the road here in a little while. Little by little, she's all coming together. Once I get everything set up with the panels and everything, won't plug it into the hydraulic power pack or anything, but have it all opened up and give you guys a walkthrough. The ratchet straps that I was waiting for came in today. I got them trimmed up and put on. Ordered a pack of endless ratchet straps, so that way no hooks, nothing like that. Just one strap to fold through and tighten up. Easy peasy. Right now, all three are, tightened down like we would be working cows. After I do the walkthrough, then I'll show you how I loosen them up and slide everything back in. It's been a long process. Let's do the final walkthrough and close this thing out. And here we go. So on the right here, we got our new gate. Gonna walk into the workshop. Narrows in. Cow's getting ready to go in the tub here. Swing the gate. Got our slam latch there. The cows come around to this side. Start pushing the tub. Then, say I want to open the gate from this side, I can. Then the cows go through the alley, go through the chute, and go right out the door. Instead of the cows ending up face first into that angled plate or kicker panel, whatever you want to call it, that was in here before, now it is just a straight shot right into the alleyway. Should make for a lot easier flow. And there's a bird's eye view of how everything looks. You can better see the angle this way. All right, let's put this up. Loosen it up. pins. Yeah, I still haven't welded that yet. I forgot about that. That needs done still. But can work on that this winter. All right. Slide this in. Easier said than done with one hand. There we go. And then just swing it to the side so the door can get down. That's that. And that swings in here. And boom, door can go down. All done. There we have it. Somebody get a hold of George W. Bush. I need a mission accomplished banner to be unfurled out over all this. It has been a lot of work to get here. It has taken quite a while, but then, you know, good things take time. And I'm really happy that I've got this set up in a way that I think is going to work a lot better, a lot smoother, and just make an easy process all that much easier. My wife says I'm at my happiest when I've got a project. She's not wrong. I do love my projects, and I had a blast getting to work on this. Dad thought it was maybe a little unnecessary to go to the extreme lengths I went to, you know, take everything apart and out of here. But in the end, I hope even he'll come around and see that the juice was worth the squeeze on this one. I know this was a little longer video series than I normally do, but figured I'd try something a little different. Best way you can help out my channel, like this video, share it with a friend, hit the follow button, you know, do all the things, hit all the buttons. I hope I'll see you back next time. As always, thanks for stopping by.